Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Theo Von, Joe Rogan, and they're talking about something very interesting, okay? Now, firstly, what Joe Rogan touches on is a chilling message from RFK Jr. Now, that's the main thing that this is about, and I'm going to be showing you a bunch of clips from RFK Jr. because it went from what is RFK going to be doing to this is what he has been promised by President Trump. There's no more debate. This is what he's doing. And it's crazy. Now, what they're also going to talk about is something interesting that Theo Von touches on, Rogan touches on as well, is not feeling like you're part of America, feeling unheard by the current administration for these past 4 years, which I think a lot of people can relate to. And I like the way Theo actually breaks it down. You know, he has a lot of moments where he is very articulate. Let's get into the Rogan clip first and we'll go into the rest.
So I'm either going to lose my
right
land from to here or to here.
Right. Like, where am I going now? Like,
Yeah.
what am I doing? You know, and you're not hearing anything about it.
Yeah,
It's
you just don't anymore.
We looked it up once. There was a time where the government accidentally oversent money to Ukraine. They sent them $6 billion they shouldn't have sent.
Yeah.
So we looked up how much would it have cost to rebuild every house in Maui from the fires. It's $5 billion. So the extra money that they accidentally sent to Ukraine, they could have sent there and rebuilt every house and had $1 billion left over.
But
we have give you $700.
Unreal.
That's disgusting. That's disgusting. Like, if you want us to pretend that we're all on the same team, you got to treat us all like we're on the same team. You can't like be throwing all this money into Ukraine, and then there's places in America that suck, and you're not doing anything to help these folks. Like,
yeah,
that's
it's just
nuts.
yeah. And people will say like, well, your tax dollars don't affect it, but at a certain point, it's not even about it's just like, do you not like? If I'm an American and I'm contributing to this business by being an American and being part of the system, does the system not care about me, you know? But I guess everybody thinks about that in different ways, so.
Well, I think whenever you
I don't
have
know,
a
man.
system,
I'm out of my mind.
System's a bunch of people. And so when you have a bunch of people, an enormous amount of people, it's too many people to think about as individuals. You think about it as numbers. And that's like the sort of sociopath version of a government. They just think of you as a number.
Yeah. But when people start to lose their like if you start to lose your sense of being an American, then you start to that's big for a lot of people, right? Like, so then it's a sense of purpose, right? One of the senses of purposes I feel like that we get, or like having a job, having a family, or somebody that loves you or that you love, or having being a part of a country, right? Being a part of a fabric of a society.
Right.
And when those things start to erode, some of those things, and if you don't have any other ones to back it up, then people get really rogue. You know?
Yeah. Well, they get rogue, especially if they've been told by the mainstream media forever that if one side wins, you're going to be in a right-wing fascist dictatorship.
Yeah,
it
just pisses me off. I don't understand that.
That
should be a crime.
It should be. Well, it's at the very least, it's like slanderous. Like, that's not. It's not true. You can't back that up. It's not true. Like, you're saying something that we have evidence of 4 years of him being a president and not doing that.
And what does fascist mean?
Let's look up the actual definition. But there's a bunch of different versions of it. It's usually connected to a right-wing authoritarian ideology and the power of the state over people. And it gets twisted around a lot because it's also, you could also say it's fascist to impose certain ideas on people, demand certain speech, which would make a lot of left-wing people fascist as well. Far-right, authoritarian, and utilitarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, belief in natural social hierarchy, subordination of individual interests for the perceived good of the nation or race, and strong regimentation of society and economy opposed to anarchism, democracy, pluralism, egalitarianism, liberalism, socialism, and Marxism. Fascism is placed on the far right wing within the traditional left-right wing spectrum.
Who's doing all that?
No one is. So it's like, it's a bullshit term that you're throwing on a guy who has a different political philosophy than you. Put it back up again, please. It's like, there's real fascists in the world. There's really dangerous people. That guy's not. He's got a big ego. He says ridiculous things.
Who are you talking about?
Trump. He doesn't behave like a guy that you think of in a traditional sense of being the president. But
no, he just seems like just an older guy who kind of has likes being Donald Trump.
I think he loves being Donald Trump. But I think he's got some good ideas that a lot of businessmen agree with.
Well, I think you need a businessman to do this. It's not a. We don't live in this Care Bear world anymore. Our politics, it's become a dirty business.
Yeah.
So I think you want a businessman in there. Like, I don't care if somebody's attitude. Can the guy do business? Then that's who because it's all business now. Like it's been sold out. It's like, I don't feel like it's this, I don't know. Does that make any sense, dude? Sorry, dude. I'm having a day, man.
No, don't apologize. I know what you're saying. Yeah, it is business.
But it's like, you want a shrewd businessman. I don't need Mary Poppins in there, right?
Right.
I don't need somebody to tell me everything's okay. I need I need somebody to make our food safe. I need somebody to make our streets safe.
Right.
And that's all I really need. I feel like if I'm paying taxes, then those are the things that I should expect that my FDA and that my police department, which I'm paying for, are going to be able to make sure that I can raise a family and raise them healthily and make it home from work to see my children. I feel like I don't have any children yet, but I already feel, that's what I feel like people want. I don't care about anything else.
Yeah, I think most people feel the same way. They just want to be safe and happy. RFK Jr. tweeted something. See if you can find that.
Well, Adam McKay had a great tweet.
But RFK treated like a message to...
the thing you sent me yesterday?
What is it? The RFK one?
Yeah, it was long, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the matter, bro?
Just having the worst day today, man.
I got it right here if you want it, Jamie.
I got it.
Sorry, being a downer.
No, you're not being a downer. But you
This
keep...
wasn't it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
I'm sorry, man.
Look at that. FDA's war on public health is about to end. This includes its aggressive suppression of psychedelics, peptides, stem cells, raw milk, hyperbaric therapies, chelating compounds, ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, vitamins, clean food, sunshine, exercise, nutraceuticals, and anything else that advances human health and can't be patented by pharma. If you work for the FDA and are a part of this corrupt system, I have two messages for you. Number one, preserve your records, and number two, pack your bags. Whoa. That's what's crazy
awesome.
About Trump winning. That's what's crazy.
Yeah, that's the thing. I
love
love this.
People like Tulsi. That's the type of person you want. Congresswoman for 8 years, like impeccable character. And then you've got Vivek, who's a genius. You got JD Vance, who's brilliant as well.
Oh, he's great.
So you have
Neat
a
guy.
bunch of good people with him this go around.
Well, yeah, it's like
We gotta get people off each other's necks, man. That's what we gotta do. We gotta get people to stop attacking each other. It's so crazy.
Well, I felt a sense of even after the election was over, I felt like everything just felt kind of calm.
Yeah. Well, it's a team thing, dude. It's like your team lost. It really is. It's these people that are super addicted to politics. They're like people who don't follow sports.
Yeah.
Who never played any games. This is the way they compete. They compete for the most important thing, like who gets to dictate the tone of the country.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, I've never expected politics to have any effect on my life. Even when I was a kid, I didn't. My mom told us don't ever depend on the government for anything.
Shout out to Theo's mom. Damn right. My mom say the same thing, straight up. My dad too, actually. Man, Theo Von, I'm telling you, man, he lays it down sometimes. Like, Theo Von has this way about him where he is famous. He's Theo Von, right? He's selling out places. He's friends with Joe Rogan. He interviews Trump. He knows JD Vance. Like, he's famous. And I think one day he's going to have the number one podcast, just if his podcast keeps going the way it's going. But at the same time, more so than Joe even, he has this way about him where he's just a regular dude. Like, what he just said is how every American feels. Where they're like, I don't care. I just need the things that I need. I need the country to run. I'm paying taxes. I'm expecting this. And I just want this. And you're not going to make me feel, joy and this and that. I don't care about all these things that Kamala Harris was running on. I love the fact that he said that. But getting more into RFK, that was the tweet That is a chilling tweet. Preserve your records and pack your bags. That's like you're getting fired, and worse, some of you might go to jail. Like right now, right as soon as he said preserve as soon as he said preserve your records, there was probably someone in all these little places where he has to go, these organizations, these agencies, where they were just like Joker and Batman. They were just like, light it all, just big stacks of papers, just light it on fire. I don't care. I don't care. You want to know? You want to know where I got all this money? You want to know, Batman? I won't tell you. That's what's happening right now. They're villains and they're running for their lives for sure. For sure. But let's get into what RFK is actually going to be doing for Trump, because for a while we all knew that he'd be working for Trump. We all knew that he'd be in the administration. We all knew that he wouldn't really have a title, and he still kind of doesn't. But he's been promised already by Trump to be able to do things like this.
President Trump has asked me to reorganize the federal health agencies, the agencies that have a portfolio that affects human health, which is CDC, NIH, FDA, as well as some of the agencies within the United States Department of Agriculture. And he's asked me to clean up the corruption, number one. Number two, end the conflicts of interest, return those agencies to their rich tradition of gold standard, empirically based, evidence-based science, evidence-based medicine, and to end the chronic disease epidemic in this country. And he's asked me specifically to measurably reduce chronic disease in our children within 2 years.
Wild, absolutely amazing. Which means Chris Cuomo, if you go back to mainstream media, you're not going to get those same type of dollars that you were getting before for lying to people straight up. But yeah, CDC, NIH, FDA, and also he hasn't mentioned USDA as well. It's just absolutely incredible. A lot of people were hoping he'd be head of the CIA and things like that. He might have a hand in cleaning some of that up. He's definitely going to be looking deep into the JFK records for sure. But, having those agencies under control, that saves us from what we went through a few years ago. And you know exactly what I mean. That saves us. Because if they start looking at science properly, then they're not going to do that. Also, something that he mentioned was the revolving door that currently takes place. I don't know if you guys know this, but you could have a job at the FDA and you could leave. You could pass. This is what you see happen. They pass a bunch of things. This is okay for this pharmaceutical company and this and that. And then that person who did that in the FDA, just because out of the goodness of their heart and they just thought it was the right thing to do, all of a sudden goes and works at like Pfizer or Moderna and gets a high paying job. And then sometimes they go, you know what? Going back to the FDA. It's like, what? And that's going to stop. That's going to stop. Because obviously RFK, like that's the thing that's going to have to, it has to stop happening. That's probably the biggest reason we're at where we're at in regards to health, because there are people who just FDA into the government into here. Like they just keep going back and forth, and they go back and forth with all this information and all these connections. President Trump actually suggested in when he was talking about censorship that there needs to be a cooling off period for people who are in things like the CIA before they go and work for like a social media company. There has to be a cooling off period so their information is stale, basically. And that type of thing will have to start happening with the FDA as well. They'll have to, and the NIH and all of them, right?
Donald Trump has said that he would put you in charge of the public health agencies. What exactly does that look like?
Well, he's been very specific in what he said. He wants me to do three things. One, clean up the corruption of the agencies, particularly the conflicts of interest that have turned those agencies into captive agencies for the pharmaceutical industry and the food industry, the other industries that they're supposed to be regulating. Number two, to return those agencies to the gold standard science, the empirically based, evidence-based medicine that they were famous for when I was a kid. And number three, to make America healthy again, to end the chronic disease epidemic. And President Trump has told me that he wants to see measurable, concrete results within 2 years in terms of a measurable diminishment in chronic disease among America's kids.
Ah, man. So basically, you basically heard some of that already, but I just wanted to play it again because this is not a joke. He's going around and saying this, and RFK is not the type of person to be going around and saying some hearsay, I think I'll be doing. That's not what this is. This is his job. The only thing that he's missing is he doesn't have a title. This is why I brought up before, and I'm going to play this clip right now of him talking a little bit more about these issues, but this is why I brought up a statement that I said. It seems like J.D. Vance is his VP for the Republican side. It seems like RFK is his VP on the Democrat side. That's what it seems like. And then Elon Musk is like the deep state behind him VP. The Illuminati VP. He's his Illuminati representative, I guess. That's what it seems like to me. Here, let's get into it.
Because they're not strong science, but they're indicative, and they should be mentioned. That diseases like anorexia actually disappear. You lose your diagnoses by treating them with diet, with keto diets and other kind of diets. And those are the studies that NIH should be doing. NIH won't do those studies because they don't want to know the source or the cure, or the treatment. Let me put it, for chronic disease. Callie was mentioning the other day in a conversation that he and I had, and he discovered a recent NIH study that has been suppressed and buried by NIH that shows that 48% of American teens are now diabetic. That's half the teens in this country. When I was a kid, juvenile diabetes was functionally at zero. The average pediatrician would see a single case of juvenile diabetes in his lifetime over a 40 or 50-year career. Today, half the kids that walk through his office door are diabetic or pre-diabetic. And, can we think of a larger crisis to our country than that? These kids are now dependent on insulin and diabetes treatments, on chronic disease treatments for the rest of their lives. And that's bankrupting our healthcare system. 77% of American kids cannot qualify for military service. I mean, how can we have something that is worse for our country or more existential to our country than that?
70%.
77%. According to the DOD.
According to the Department of Defense. And, you can go on and on. Autism.
That's crazy.
Oh.
And that's why it seems so intentional. People always talk about the enemy within. It's like, why would you allow something like, people always say money. It's always money, but it's a little too much for money. It's like these people, I've brought this up before, these people have all the money that you could need. They have everything. So why still do this stuff to the detriment of the country? You'd think, you know what I mean? If you had a house and it was made of gold bricks, yeah, you'd want to be like taking out a brick here or there. But at a certain point, you'd be like, okay, but the walls need to stay up. I don't want the walls to fall. Like, this is still the house. Like, I need this house. And that's kind of what it seems like they're doing. It's like they don't care about the walls. They're just like, yeah, who cares? Who cares? That's why it seems so intentional. It can't just be greed. You still live in the country. Like, I don't know. And then the military suffers. So now you're putting America in a really crazy spot where it's like the guys who are in it already, they're in it, but it's hard to, the ones who are able to, 77% can't. The ones who are able to actually get into the military, they don't want to go. A lot of them don't want to go because it's become too woke. I mean, let's be straight up. They don't find it interesting that the Navy SEAL recruiter is a guy that dresses in drag. Who would have thought? Who would have thought some good old boys from Texas and Alabama don't like the dude who's recruiting by wearing dress? Who would have thought? I don't know. It's wild. It's wild. It's just crazy. I know. It's nuts. It's nuts. It's bigoted, right? Bigots. I don't know. You know how that goes.
So that's the way he thinks about things. He doesn't care what you believe. He doesn't care what your ideology is. He's going to make. So that's the way he thinks about things. He doesn't care what you believe. He doesn't care what your ideology is. He's going to make the decision himself. And I've been so impressed with that. It's completely changed my opinion of who he is and really convinced me that this guy that I had such contempt for, such disdain for, is actually, a really extraordinary leader, that he could be one of the great presidents in history.
Wow. Okay.
100%. And he was talking about Joe Biden there, just so you guys know. He was talking about Trump, of course. And honestly, just jumping back to this clip, the gentleman that he's sitting with here, this guy here, Callie Means, I really hope RFK makes Callie Means the head of one of these organizations. I'm really hoping the NIH or the FDA, either one. I'm really hoping he makes this guy, maybe his sister ahead of one, him the head of another, because those two, they're so America first, it's not even funny, man. Absolutely incredible stuff from RFK Jr. He is going to be the assassin that Trump needs on the health side of things. And I think he's going to have a little bit of a hand in the FBI, CIA. I don't know why, because they're great organizations. They do great work, of course, right? Huh? Just gotta watch my back. Watch my back when I bring those up. But we'll see. He's been promised. There's no title yet for RFK. Some people were hoping he was going to be Secretary of State because Marco Rubio has been named Secretary of State. I don't like that, solely for the purpose of now he has to remove himself from being the senator. That's not good. I feel like he could have easily given that to Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi would have filled the position fine. It would have spoke to diversity. It would have also spoke to someone who's very America first. It's just people like her. Like it just would have been perfect, and it wouldn't have took anybody out who's a Republican. Wouldn't have took them out of Senate or Congress or anything like that. I just think it would have been a better decision. If not Tulsi, just someone else who's not already in a position, because, arguably they needed Marco Rubio there. But, I'm sure Trump's doing it for a reason. It's like I was telling my friend, Trump already knows that he made mistakes throughout his first term in terms of who he was standing next to. And maybe there's something about Marco that we don't know. Maybe it's really hard to find people who are willing to stand with you and stand by you through everything that you do. And maybe that's why he chose him. Maybe he needs him in that respect. I don't know. But are you guys ready for what RFK is about to do? Are you ready? Are you ready to go to McDonald's and get grass-fed beef and fries dipped in beef tallow? You ready for that? Vegans need not apply. Get out of here. Go to the garden. It's going to be absolutely amazing. I can't wait. But anyways, guys, like, subscribe, turn on the notifications. Helps the channel tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.